Hello and welcome to Blind and Knitting with Donna. I hope you're all well and I hope you've had a fantastic Christmas. Um, I had the most wonderful Christmas and I just feel so blessed with my family and friends and partner. Yeah, just beautiful, and I'll talk a little bit about it. So today I thought I'd talk a little bit about where I sit and show you. Oh gosh, now that I've said it, I'm not sure I should show you what's in my knitting basket, because I have not edited it or looked at it, or so I'm just going to get my basket and I'm going to go through it and show you what's in there, but also just show you where I sit with my knitting and give you some tips on things that have helped me be able to keep knitting while having a disability. Well, that's what the plan is to do that. I've got a little notes because if you follow me so far, you'll know that I can't do this without notes. And we'll go from there. I am sitting on my hands because the last podcast I did, I don't know, I wanted to count them. The first podcast I wanted to count how many R's I'd said, and on the last one I wanted to count how many times I'd touched my nose. It's like, what's with that? Anyway, I had terrible hay fever and my nose was just so itchy. I thought, but I haven't got makeup on, I haven't got lippy on, you just get me. Boxing Day, it is Boxing Day today, it's the day after Christmas. Stuart is out mowing the lawn, so every now and then you might hear a lawnmower go past the window. I've got all the doors and windows shut, so hopefully it doesn't get too noisy, but Stuart is out there mowing the lawns for us so that we can have lots of barbecues and sit outside and enjoy the view. And talking of view, what I want to do, I'm going to turn the camera around and show you my view from my armchair. So when I sit, this here is my view. Look at that. I mean, sitting knitting, just staring at that, I can open those doors right out, and of course now the tip will be getting the camera back. I spent ages putting this camera in the right position, so getting the camera back into the right position. So you can kind of see why I sit here. The view is stunning and I can just look at that and relax. It's like a piece of artwork because it changes every time. And I read a little while ago about people that were dyeing their own wool and they took inspiration from their views, and I thought, oh, that's really interesting. So I sat out here the other day and I thought, yeah, I can see how they would do that. I could see how a colour palette could form from my view with the dark forest greens and the sage greens, and then there was a splash of this bright lime green, and then there's sort of greys, and where some of the long tufty grasses grown as sort of fawns, and I thought, I can see how you would actually make a colour palette from a view now. That made a lot more sense when I really thought about it. So that's my view. I've also got, and there's a window, as you can see over here. It's actually a ranch slider door. That's another lovely view out that way as well, and that's how we go out to we've got a deck out there where we can sit. I'd love to be able to sit and knit outside, but I don't think my sight would cope with it. I know I do most of mine by feel, but I do have to look at my work every now and then. So I'm not sure, but this seat right here is just perfect for me. It's got the two great big windows that spread just beautiful amount of light, especially in the morning. So getting up and having a cup of tea and knitting here is really good for that sort of knitting that is involved and I have to really concentrate on, because I can see it quite clearly. It's nice and bright. At night time, and I have said this in the past, I tend to do more sort of just TV knitting, sort of stocking stitch, and when I get to parts of a jersey or whatever I'm knitting that are easy, I will do those in the evening. And I do have here a light that I put on and sort of move around to fit. I have to be honest and say, I think my sight, as it's deteriorated, this isn't as great as it used to be. I probably need a stronger one. So that's probably my next buy or purchase, I think, is to buy one that's got a little bit more direct on my knitting. And I have seen those ones on TV that come around and have two lamps on them. Looks like sort of an alien type thing. I don't know whether they would bend so that you could put them where you want them, or whether they just hang down. They might be quite good. I don't know, but I did see those the other day on TV and thought, I wonder what they would be worth, a try. Anyway, so that's me gabbling on for a few minutes. Blind and knitting. My hashtag for Instagram is blind_and_knitting. There is another one that has been compromised, so please ignore the other one. I'm hoping, I can't even get into it to close the account down. So if you see one that isn't blind_and_knitting, ignore it and go to that one. I'll put it down in the description box below as well. I'm trying to get into the habit, and I still, it's still getting into the learning process and the habit of what I do when I do present one of these podcasts, is putting the description down below and doing that. But yes, so when you're having a look at the description, don't forget to click subscribe and the like button and the little bell if you want notifications of when my podcasts are coming up. This is number 6, and it's Boxing Day 2021, so nearly in 2022. My gosh, I hope you had some awesome presents for Christmas. I just sort of talk about a couple of the gifts that I got for Christmas. One of them, we do a Secret Santa. So excuse me, so there's 23 of us, 22 of us when we all get together. My sister and I and our immediate family is 23 of us. So that's nieces, great nieces and nephews and grandchildren. It's quite a tribe. So we all had a beautiful Christmas lunch at my sister's house. Thankfully she's got a pool and the kids were able to swim in the pool, which was nice. We all sat outside, had turkey, and ate. Yeah. I thought this morning, do I want breakfast? No, I think I'm still full from yesterday. I've got a food hangover, but it was such a lovely day. So yeah, we gave gifts out, and because there's so many of us, it's actually easier to do a Secret Santa. So we all have a Secret Santa, and sometimes people say, if somebody was your Secret Santa, what would you want? And I thought, a friend of mine who will probably watch this, Sandy, thank you Sandy, has suggested that she gets her wool from a place called Maudie's in Greytown, and I've not been there yet because not driving, I haven't got the opportunity to get there, but I've seen her wool and beautiful. So I said, I want from Secret Santa a voucher from Maudie's so I could go and buy some wool at Maudie's. So that was my suggestion to who might have my Secret Santa gift. So Christmas Day came along and we were all giving out our gifts, and my Secret Santa came along and it's like, here's your Secret Santa gift, and I got a card. And I thought, this is interesting. Now I'm going to read the card out to you because it's quite clever. It took me a bit to... So it's Dearest Donna. So it's actually, my Secret Santa was one of my nieces. Let me tell you a little poem. And the poem is, there once was a girl whose life got a little messy. And one day she took a trip to a place, Miss Maudie's, if you haven't guessed. And sometime between then and this day, that's a little testy. Oh, hang on, sorry. I've cocked it up already. And sometime between then and this day, that's a little testy. The gift she brought got lost in the girl's car, which was very messy. Never fear, that girl's got over her stressy and will organise a replacement from what she's lost, neverthelessy. I mean, so dear Brittany, she brought me a Maudie's voucher and she's lost it in her car, or she thinks it's flown out of the car because it's not in there. So she's got written there, I owe you $50 voucher. So, poor Brits. Yeah, that was my supposed Maudie wool, but these things happen, and wasn't that a cool poem? I had to laugh at that. The other voucher I got some beautiful, I'm just going to get my presents, sorry, don't you hate this? The other voucher I did get was from Stuart, from my partner, and it was, I don't know what to get you, what do you want? So a few podcasts ago I made a really cool pair of, well, I think they're cool, palazzo pants, and I've just lived in them and I've had comments about them, and they're just so comfortable, especially in this heat, and I'd like to make a couple more. So I just said to Stuart, well, what the easiest thing is possible is to give me a voucher. Yeah, I know sometimes vouchers can be, I don't know, not so personalised, but you get what you want, don't you? So I asked for a voucher for Evans, which is a fabric shop in town. So I've got a voucher for Evans to go and spend, and my goal is to buy some more really soft flowing. The one I've got is a rayon, but I'll have a look, and I just want something really soft and flowing to make another couple of pair of palazzo pants. I thought I'd make a long pair, and I thought I'd make a 3/4 pair. There I go, scratching my nose. Number one. I should have a blackboard. Number one. I said, scratch my nose, and I said, a blackboard on each side. Anyway, hey ho, I'm not perfect. You get what you get. Yes, so that was a lovely gift. So I just got I was really blessed. I got some beautiful gifts. And I was out in the veggie garden the other day, and I thought to myself, I've spent half my time looking for something. I said, where have I put my scissors? Where have I put my rope that I tie my tomatoes up with? Where have I put that tag for that, those veggies? And I was just getting really frustrated, and I thought to myself, you know what I need? I need one of those aprons like I used to have. Many years ago I had one. It was an apron that I used to, a half apron, and it had a big pocket in it, and I had all my pegs in it, so I could always, for hanging washing on the line. I've now got one that is like a basket that hangs on the line, so I know where my pegs are all the time. But I used to have it in a apron, and I thought, that's what I need. I thought, I think I'll try and whip one up after Christmas. And ESP, one of my other nieces, I keep saying, you're my favourite niece because you gave me the Morty's voucher. And then I'm just like, you're my favourite niece because you gave me this. And then I go to my next favourite niece, and they're all my favourites. I love them all, just teasing them. But God bless her, and she didn't know that I had that thought. She didn't know that this is what I thought I could do with. She has found me this lovely half apron with pockets in it that are so there's 3 pockets, there's 2, one on each side, one in the middle, and it's for gardening. It's got carrots, and what's it got? A little rabbit and carrots and a wheelbarrow, and just look at that, and really good solid, I would say that's like a really heavy cotton, or it's a good solid, and it's homemade. So a lady makes them, I think she said in Carterton, so I don't know who the lady is, but well done. You've saved me a job because I don't have to make one, but what a great idea. So if you're sitting at the sewing machine and you think, I want to whip something up, maybe a gift for someone, or there we go, a half apron for gardening to put your things like your scissors, your secateurs and stuff in, or a half apron that you can put your pegs in for hanging your washing on the line. I'm quite looking forward to using that. That was just such a super gift. So thank you, Courtney, for that. I'm not going to go through all of the gifts I got because I was truly blessed, as I've said, but I'm just going to go through some that are particularly very special to me. And so every year, another one of my nieces, my favourite niece this time, I get through them, is she makes family calendars of all the kids for us, and it's just really special. She's done it for quite a few years, so our family has just grown and grown and grown. We've been, we've got this wonderful family now of lots of children. Initially, we started with just one my granddaughter, Zoe, who just got engaged. She just got engaged today. So congratulations, Zoe and Logan. I'm just so happy for you. They've been together for a couple of years, and they just match each other beautifully. So I'm really happy about that. But yeah, so Zoe was the first grandchild, and then my sister started having grandchildren, and so we started these, well, Amber started these calendars, and as our family's grown, we've got some foster children that have come and joined us as part of our family, and we've got stepchildren that have come and joined us as part of our family, and our blood grandchildren that are our family, and so the family has just grown and grown and grown, so our calendar is full of children. Look at that. I mean, this is all of our grandchildren. There's one missing who's in Australia, so Evelyn's not in this photo, obviously, because this was taken in New Zealand, but she's in here. Well, there's two missing because there's a teenage Dom who's missing in it as well. But that, and so every month, look at that one, that's them all sitting on a truck. My favourite is, if I can find it, they're all, if you can see that, they're all in line up the stairs. I mean, isn't that fantastic? And we've got pages where it's the groups of kids, or so like the two from Amber's family, or the two from Courtney's family, or the 5, 6 from Krishla's family, separate photos, but also individual. I'm trying to find some individual photos as well. Where are they? Find some individual photos. Oh, la 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 la. Gotta find them. It's this one. Oh, there we go. So some with the individual photos. That's Evelyn there. Evelyn lives in Australia, so she's my granddaughter. And Dom and Amber and Lockie and Connor. So separate, Connor and Eddie. Separate photos as well, but it's just every month is something, you know, just special, and I keep them afterwards, so I keep them like memory boards, I suppose. Keep them in the memory box. Very special, just lovely, and yeah, so I'm looking forward to hanging that up. Oh, and one of the benefits, although I struggle reading them, I thought I might get a highlighter, is under the children's birthdays, they have their name on their birthday, so you've got no excuse for getting their birthdays. So that was just another particularly special gift. Yeah. Christmas. So Kenzie the guide dog. So my sister-in-law bought Kenzie a Christmas stocking. Sent paws. How cute is that for Kenzie? And it has, Kenzie's asleep over there at the moment in it. And I'm not going to give her one now because she'll just keep coming back and back and back with it to play. But I've got some balls in there, and we had a shank from a roast a while ago, and we froze it. So that's going to be her Boxing Day gift, so she can have that today. Outside, after Stuart's mowed the lawn, she can sit and gnaw away on that bone happily, and that can be Merry Christmas to Kenzie. So my seat. So this is the spot that the bulk of the knitting gets done, unless I'm going out, and I do knit at work as well. And I try and knit outside when it's a lovely day, because as I said, it's really lovely out on the deck, but I struggle with my sight. If I wear a big hat and my glasses are go dark, so you know that can help. But so lighting is critical for me with my sight issues. Lighting is critical. My basket is right here. I'll please excuse the mess. Oh my gosh, here's my knitting basket. So that sits beside my partner gets a bit frustrated with. So I have my big knitting basket sitting here with all my projects in it. Oops, I usually have magazines sitting here that I want to read. Well, she says read, but look at the pictures. You know I can't do the reading bit, but I do look at the pictures. I've got those magazines that I brought last time, and I'm getting through those and just enjoying looking at the photos of those and getting inspiration from those. So I always have magazines floating around. What else do I have here? Oh, and again, it's a lot like gardening. I spend so much time going, where did I put? Well, where did I put? So what I've learnt, this is a really good tip, and I hope that it's something that is of value to you guys. I'll just get it, because the trick is, my mum had this tray So it's got a bean bag on the bottom. It used to be for the kids when they'd go and have dinner at their nanas, and so they would sit with this tray on their lap, but I use it as my knitting tray. Now it's got a ridge around the bottom, around it in there, and so at the moment I'm knitting something that has beading. So this is a scarf that I'm knitting, and it's got tiny beads, which I can bloat if I can see, but I know I don't lose them because they're sitting in this ridge, including my cable needle, which is red, so that I don't lose it, and my very fine crocheting hook, which is how I put the beads onto the knitting, is with the crocheting hook, and I use my nail to feel for the hook at the end, because I can't see it obviously, but yes, I see a bead, and I hook my bead in like that, and then I use my nail to slip it up. But I don't have to keep hunting around looking for things. The other thing I've got on here is my tablet, because as I said, I can't read the patterns, so this one I expand out, so I've got 1 or 2 lines of the patterns right in front of me, and I can expand it and then shrink it, zoom in and out. So I have my tablet sitting on it for my pattern. So, and that just sits on my lap while I'm knitting. Really good idea. And I know this was as I said, this is a billion years old, because my baby, my youngest, is 36 now, so he used to sit and have dinner on the sit-nanas when he was 3 and 4, so this is a billion years old. But my sister-in-law found another one identical, which I've got over there, in an op shop. So I've got 2, but if you have a look around an op shop, I think you can still buy these anyway. But I know this is a tip for me being vision impaired, but just for the average day knitter, what a great idea, especially the beads and the there's nothing worse than if you're doing a cable or doing something and you just, every time you have to look around for your blessed cable needle having the tablet on top as well. So I just sit that on my lap, but of course it takes more room on the floor, which means more projects floating around, which means grumpy partner, because it's like, I don't just have my armchair, I have that tray there, I've got that basket there, I've got my coffee table there, I've usually got my magazines. No wonder they get frustrated, but I'm not going to change. I like to have lots of projects on at a go. And that pink scarf, of course, is in one of my bags. Another wee tip is, because what I did do is I made lots of these Japanese knot bags. There's a couple there. Oops. Of course, they're all the same colour, so it's a pain having to open them every time and find out which was in them. So I now tie a little bit of thread around one of the handles, and then I know that that's what's in there. So that's my pink scarf is in this Japanese knot bag, and it's got my pattern, which I don't think I can show you because it's a wardrobe toolbox pattern. I'm doing it in Sublime, which is a baby cashmere merino silk, and it's just exquisitely soft. It's actually, the pattern is for a 4-ply, but I'm knitting a DK only because, and I think I've talked about this before, I tried a 4-ply and that's what I got so frustrated with it. Too hard for my sight. So I'm just doing a DK, which means it's just slightly bigger, slightly thicker, but still pretty. So I thought if I did a DK, if I made it in, oh God, the wool is just, but made it in a really gentle colour, like a pastel, like a pink, then it wouldn't matter so much that it's a DK, because it's a pretty pattern. So pretty colour, pretty pattern, but I've just decided to go with a DK. So that's project number, I don't know, I'm not going to number them, but they just sit down to my left here on my tray, and so when I'm ready to pick that up, and if it's complicated knit, pick that tray up and sit it on my lap, and ticky boom, it's all there in front of me. I don't have to spend 20 minutes looking for my cable needle, looking for and I've lost my beads, and where are those beads, and so they're all there. That's a really good tip. Well, I found it a very handy tip. Where have I put my notes? My notes. this is it. This is typical of me. I spend half my time looking for, and I can't find them. I'll probably put it under something. I'm just going to have to gabble without my notes, but they've got to be here. Hey ho, I'll gabble without them. If I miss something, I miss something. Oh, here they are. This is the blind thing, and I know that people do it all the time, but it can get quite tiresome, and I think some of that is, I think I've talked about fatigue before. I think some of my mental fatigue and my physical fatigue is I spend half my time looking for things that are right in front of me. The other day I could not find my shoes. Because we've been taught through the foundation when you're looking for something to scan. So, start at the top and scan like that so that you can, until you find it. I could not find my shoes on the floor. And I got so frustrated, and then I thought I'll go to the bedroom and get another pair. That's how annoyed I was. And as I stepped forward, I tripped over. I tripped over the shoes I was looking for. They were right in front of me. It's a really fickle disease, retinitis pigmentosus, or RP, as it's easily broken down to, because it's one of those diseases that you can actually fall over a vacuum cleaner that you didn't see while you're trying to pick up a piece of thread in front of it that you did see. So it's one of those ones that, because you've got just the tiniest wee bit of sight, so you can spot something, but you don't see anything else around it. So you can see something and you go for it, and that's when you'll fall over something else. Or anyway, it's just it's a fickle disease. And I know that people that see me look at me and say, but your eyes work so normally, One of the things with that's interesting is that when you are born blind or lose your sight very early when you're young, your eyes behave differently than if you've had sight and you lose your sight as an adult. So my eyes still behave like I have sight. So, if I hear something, I'll look for it. Or if I think, I wonder where such and such is, I'll look for it. When I'm actually not looking, I'm just moving my head in the way you would normally have done it in the past when you were sighted. And of course, people that have been born blind or anything might hear something and they'll react to it, but they won't look towards it. They'll just hear something and say, oh, are you okay? Because they never had that. So that, is when you are talking to someone who, I get that all the time, they'll say, oh, but you're blind, and they'll look at me and they'll look at my eyes and they'll say, but your eyes are normal. They move. It's like, yes, they do, because I was born sighted and had sight for a long time. So my eyes do what they would normally do for a sighted person, which, some people tend to say, oh, yeah, your sight's not that bad, until they actually see me walking around and think, oh yes, actually she is really blind. If you're at my house and I'm walking around my house, you wouldn't even know I was blind, because I know where everything is, although I keep banging into stuff anyway. But I walk around reasonably confidently. Take me to a place that I don't know very well, or there's lots of stuff around that could be, trippable. Then I'm very blind, and it's like very obvious. So if somebody says they're blind or low visioned and they just look like they're seeing normally, don't disbelieve them. It's really important to not disbelieve them. They just obviously have lost their sight at a later date in their life and still react that way. But I digress. So back to my chair, my armchair, and my knitting posse, etc. Conscious that my top gets a bit low, sorry. So I'm just keep pulling it up. So of course I have to have drinky poos. So I've got a coffee here, which is cool. So that's my coffee, always sits on the right there. I know where it is. It's at 2 o'clock. Bang. I thought what I would do is show you the progression of cups from morning to night. So in the morning, mug of tea, 2 tea bags, mug. Now I've tried a teapot with knitted cozy on it. I've tried those cups that you have the hot water underneath, and that because one cup is just not enough for me. But to be honest, this works the best. 2 tea bags and a massive mug. So that's my morning tea, number 1. Number 2, I have a drink bottle beside me. I can now see why my partner gets so frustrated with what's around my armchair, because I always have a drink bottle around, and that I sip on all day, and that's really good stress management, sipping on water all day, because when you're stressed you don't breathe very well. If you sip water all day, it is regulating your breathing and keeping it in a nice pattern. So that's a good stress management tip as well. Number 3, after my tea and while I'm drinking water, is the coffee. I don't want a great big mug of coffee, so that's my coffee. And that's a good coffee today. And then in the evening, a small vino. So that's the progression of things that float around my chair all the time. What I think I might try one day, and I don't know if any of you have tried them, I'd love comments on it if you do have used them, is I know you can get, and I think they're for embroidery, but it's a magnifying glass on a stand and you can work underneath it and look down. I think it's got a light as well. I wonder what they're like. If you've tried one, I'd love to hear from you. And I just sort of want to try. What am I missing here? And the other thing, I can't show, my phone usually sits on the arm of my chair because I tend to watch podcasts while I'm knitting. So I put my phone on my lap or on the arm of my chair if I've got my tray there, because that's in the way. And I knit and I watch podcasts while I'm knitting on my phone. So yeah, podcasts, oh my gosh, I love knitting podcasts. I just watch them all the time, and you get to the stage where you actually start to know people, and I hope that's you are bringing a bit of your world out into public view. So I'm a bit the same too. I'm hoping that you'll actually get to know me and learn from me as well, and get some tips, but also just to get to know me and my knitting world. And so some of them I've really got to know is I would love to meet Kevin and Ray from Needles at the Ready. I just think they're the coolest dudes. They really are, and they banter with each other, and it's just brilliant. So I really like them. But one of the podcasts that I enjoy and learn the most from it's called Fruity Knitting. And it's a husband and wife, Andrew and Andrea, and it can be quite academic. They travel around the world. The podcast is their business, so it's actually a job that they make these podcasts. They have patrons and they get funded to do it. So they do make it very professional. Some of it I struggle with. It's quite, like they'll often have operatic music, or, I struggle with that because it's just not me. I'm a bit of a disco queen. I'll tell you a story about that later too. But they interview some amazingly interesting people and go right into depth of the knitting, like history of knitting, the structure, the construction of knitter, the architecture of knitting, all of it, just in wool and fibre and so I really do enjoy it. And so I went to bed last night after Christmas Day. I'd had a nana nap, so I wasn't particularly tired, but so I thought, I'll watch a podcast just before I go to bed, and I thought, I'll watch Fruity Knitting. And I watched it, and Andrew's got a brain tumour. It's, and it's like, oh my gosh, you really get to know these people. They've got a daughter, Madeline, and he was such a gentleman, and they both knitted, and so I ended up watching the next few podcasts through his brain tumour, through his illness, and he passed away. So if you are watching Andrea, I am truly sorry to hear about Andrew. I absolutely love your podcast, and what a devastating loss for you, and so quick and so young. So that was very sad watching that. So but again, that kind of showed to me oh, excuse me, excuse me, when you're talking a lot you need the liquid. That you do actually become, you're welcomed into their world, and you do get to know them, and I was devastated to hear that. But it is, they are, I think I've watched 111 or 112 episodes of theirs. I don't know how many they've done total, but I've watched almost all of them and thoroughly enjoyed every one of them. So I'd highly recommend it. I will put the link below. Fruity Knitting it's called. But be prepared that, you know, they open up and show the rawness of his illness in the podcast as well. There's also another one that I've started watching, which I'm really enjoying, and a good friend of mine, Yvonne, recommended it, and it's called What Vivi Did, VIVI. And Vivi lives in the UK, and she is very frugal, and she lives totally sustainable. Itchy my nose again. Gosh, I must get an itchy nose. I'm really enjoying it. So it's more about the veggie garden. She has an allotment that she goes into and how she grows her produce and works it out how it's going to last through the year, and very good. Thoroughly enjoying that. So thanks Yvonne for that one. So that's another one I do recommend for you, especially now that I'm getting back into my veggie gardening, now that I've got my new veggies, my new garden boxes. My garden's going just flourishing. I've got broccoli just about due to be eaten. I can go and make a salad any day, just lovely salads. I've got beetroot, as I said last time that I've made relish. What else have I got that's ready? I've got tomatoes coming out, which won't be far away. Potatoes are ready to start digging. I'll leave them just a little bit longer because we've got plenty of spuds at the moment. So love my veggie garden. So that's another one that I highly recommend, called What Vivi Did, VIVI. That's the podcasts. Yeah. I was going to tell you a funny story. What was that one? Because when you watch a podcast, they have a really cool beginning. You know, they have like their logo and maybe a bit of music and sort of an introduction. And so I thought I'll try and make one so that I can add it. I haven't worked how you add them yet. It's all a learning curve. As I said, this is a learning journey. So I made this. I went to a concert a couple of weeks ago, and I stayed at the motel for the night because I live rurally, and it was just easier after this concert that I went to with some girlfriends that I could stay the night. So I had a few hours in a motel on my own in the afternoon and in the morning before Stuart came in. Stuart and I had a brunch date, which was lovely. He came and picked me up and we went and had brunch together. So I really enjoyed that. But yes, I stayed the night, had a few hours. So I was knitting, as you do. And I thought, I can have a play and create this beginning part of my podcast. And so I because I'm a bit of a disco queen, I thought, right, I love that Saturday Night Fever with that music, and he's John Travolta's walking step by step, and really cool. And I thought, that music, Saturday Night Fever, would be really cool to knit to. And instead of having somebody walking, have them taking the stitches. And so I spent all afternoon with my red knitting, because I thought, red is perfect. I'll show you my knitting later. I'll get on to knitting. And I put the music on, and I was trying to make sure that my knitting was to the rhythm of the music, and I was really happy with it. And then I even got to the stage I could put text on it, and I put blind and knitting across it. I was so proud of it. So I put it on my Instagram. It was deleted immediately because, of course, Bee Gees music is, copyright. So I spent all that time. So I don't know what to do now, because, you have something in your head. Well, I do. Once I've got something in my head, it's really hard to change it. So I don't know what I'm going to do about that. If you know what to do about that, let me know in the comments below. But I was a little frustrated because I spent hours, I don't know how many times I listened, I love the piece of music. And then I decided Night Fever was a better piece of music, so I put it to Night Fever, and I was trying to make sure that every stitch, was going to the music, and I thought it looked pretty damn cool. Anyway, can't use the music, can I? Don't know what the answer to that is, but just, the story and the life of Donna. Yeah. So that's podcasts. What I was going to do now is go through my basket and because I haven't got any finished objects, I haven't got any FOs. What with Christmas and I went to a concert with the girlfriends, as I said, which was actually quite cool. It was a Jordan Luck. I don't know how many of you my age remember the exponents or the dance exponents initially in Jordan Luck. So I went to him, and that was really cool, really enjoyed it, but oh my gosh, it was loud. And poor Kenzie, in the end I put her in the motel room on her own. I felt sorry for her, but there's just no way she could cope with that music. But yeah, fantastic concert, really enjoyed it. And we've had lots of friends visit, lots of families. We've had Stuart's daughters visit, and we've had Christmas with, so there's not a lot of knitting time, so I haven't got any finished objects. And no, I never finished the hats for my grandies. I keep just rationalising and say, well, they won't need them till winter. So for the knitting part of this podcast, because anyone would think it was not a knitting podcast as well, I thought I'd go through my basket and show you what's in there, warts and all. So here we go. Well, the first one is what I'm actually almost finished at the moment, and that's my Gemini, and I've actually done quite a bit. So it's got a bit of shaping in the waist, which I didn't realise until I got through the pattern. So I am not an in and out, but it's got an out, so it's got a little bit of a flare. I don't think it's going to be much because it's only 8 stitches, so it's just a little bit of flare, and I'm very hourglass, so that's probably a good thing for me to have a little bit of flare. I'll just follow the pattern and see, you know, it didn't look like it had shaping in the pattern, it just looked straight, but it does. And I thought, well, just stick to the pattern and see how you go. So loving, it's one of my favourite colours. Red, purple and pink are my favourite colours. I really like the neck on it. It's square and with the lace, and so I'm getting through it. I'm using one of my little stitch markers that I got with the books that I showed you last week or the week before. They're working really well. They're really soft and rubbery, so they're nice and light, which is good. They're not hanging or catching on anything. I've just moved my stitch marker up because I did some knitting. I did do a bit of knitting for half an hour yesterday, and I moved my stitch marker up because that's where I put my increases. So I have to do my next lot of increases in 2 inches time. So hence why my stitch marker's moved. So that is my current project, which is in my bag. And of course, as I said, I've kept the thread on them so that I know which project is in which bag, so I don't get too confused. This bag is a sock bag, and I think I haven't touched them, but I did tell you about, and I'll just try and find them. I've just got I've got rolls of thread in here, skeins of wool that I thought I'd make socks out of, and I did tell you that I bought some, and this is Ray and Kevin 9-inch circular needles, and I'm not sure, but I did watch a podcast the other day. I think it was Knitting Traditions, the young girl from Norway, maybe, wherever she's from, and she said, I started on these little needles and I hated my first pair, but now I wouldn't change, so I'm going to persevere, but I just haven't picked them up. I will. So that's just in that. I don't even know what's in some of this basket, which is interesting. What is it in here? Oh, this is my hats that I started for the kids. I've got a quarter made. So I'll keep going with those because, they don't need them till winter. So that'll be a fun project, and they won't take long. I'll just whip through those. I haven't got the wool on the handle because it's the only bag that I've got that colour, so I know. This is my, that's the power cord to the phone. This is what I keep all my bits in, my Notion bits. It's one of those old makeup bags, zip up round with a handle things. It's quite good. The only thing I have a challenge with is that it's got a black lining. Struggle with that. But what I've learned to do is I use little bags. So this one is my my new tape measure and my old ones. I should get rid of my old ones. I've got about 4 in here, and I've got quick unpick and my needles. So it's kind of my measuring things and sewing things up bag. I have a little notebook which is just for note paper, just for jotting things down. My DPNs, not that I use them much now, but they just sit there now. Scissors, dental floss for making lifelines, and my pins for blocking pins. Although I did see, I saw Libby from Truly Myrtle, and she has these, they look like a comb, they're quite long, and they have the pins out of them, so that I guess what they would do is not give you that, you know, the sticky out bit from a pin. So yeah, I thought I might, you know, well, I won't be spending the money for a little while, but that's what I've got for now. But eventually, the rest of these are in plastic bags, and the reason for that is because, as again, blind, I find it really hard to rake around and find what I'm looking for. Crocheting hooks, it's got a bright green, lime green one in it, so whenever I'm looking for crocheting hooks, I just look for the lime green one. So that's all my crocheting hooks. My knitting needles are all in a little pouch, or hussif. In the old days, they were called a hussif. I keep them in a bag because, being blind, pins and needles are so dangerous with me because I just lose them. So it's one way of keeping them in safe without losing them and not being able to find them. So, although I don't like plastic, I keep these plastic bags for years. They're not a one use and go, they keep and stay there. These are those the bracelets that the kids used to make with the little rubber bands. They make fantastic stitch markers, so I do use those a lot, and they're nice and bright, the lime greens, light bright orange. I can see them quite clearly, so I use those for stitch markers. And if you get carried away and forget to take them out, well, you just cut it off, so it's not a great loss. So those are those, you can see those little round, kids used to make all these bracelets out of them. Scored those from one of the grandies, no doubt. These are some of my old circular needles, so I still use them, but then they're just the clear plastic ones, and I keep them all together in here so that if I need them, there's one pair that aren't even out of the packet. So, but that's my circular needles. What's those? Cable needles and big great big safety pins, which are holding your stitches. I want to get one of those I've seen them on podcasts recently, and they're like a very thin tube, and you sit them on your needle and you can run your stitches off and hold your stitches on them. I want to get some of those because I think that would be fantastic. I don't know what colours they are and whether they'd be bright enough for me to see, but this is what I used to use, or do use at the moment. It's just those great big pins. So that's all, well, it's not all that's in there, it's got rubbish in all sorts of places, but it's not too messy. What else have I got? And I showed this was one of my purchases a while ago, is my eddies, my knitting eddies. So that's got everything in it. My cords and needles and needle gauge are all there. What it does, when you buy it, it comes with these little tags that you can slide in there to put. You see the red ones with the size of the needles. I can't read them, so what I thought I would do is get Stuart to read them and use a Vivid, and on each of these pockets is write what size the needles are, so I can see them more clearly. But what I've been doing instead of reading them is I just use my needle gauge, which I struggle to read as well, but it's better than that. What else have I got in here? I've got my sock book, which I've showed you in the past. I don't know why that's in there, it just hasn't gone away, I imagine. Knitting needles that I got in that pack last week. I thought I might, if I teach the grandkids to knit, one of them can have those, maybe as a gift if they do start showing some interest in knitting. emery boards. Nothing more annoying than trying to knit when you've got rough fingernails. Actually reminds me, I've got a cut, which is, I had a sticking plaster on it yesterday. I was trying to knit yesterday and the wretched needle kept getting caught in the sticking plaster, so I took it off. I've got these cool scissors that we picked up in the op shop, and they're scissors to cut herbs, but they've got 6 blades, so 3 that way and 3 that way. So when you cut, you're cutting 3 lots. So you get all your herbs in a bundle, and you go and you're just cutting up your chives and your parsley. And we had potatoes with butter and chives and parsley. I mean, I was going and I cut my finger because they're really sharp. But they are great. If you ever see those in an op shop, if you ever see scissors and they've got 6 blades and you're wondering what on earth they're for, herbs, cutting up herbs. They're fantastic. I'll show you one day. No, not this podcast, but yeah, I'll get them out one day and you can have a look. What else have I got? Oh, this is a electric pain thing that zaps you with an electric shock when you've got pain. I've got arthritis, so that does get a little bit of a thrashing in the winter, not so much in the summer. That's just rubbish. Oh my gosh, rubbish. Oh, I thought I would show my grandkids sort of the theory around knitting. So I brought this little spool, because you can't buy cotton. In the old days we used to have a cotton and we put nails around it, remember, and we'd make the tails, hook them over. So I think what that does is it gives them a really good idea of what it's like, what you're actually doing. You're making stitches and how they work. So I brought that. I thought I'd sit down with the kids in the winter. It's not a summer thing, they're more campers and outdoor kids. So, but in the winter, that's something that we can sit down and do. You know what'll happen, it'll sit in the bottom of my knitting basket and I'll forget about it. And one day I'll remember and go, So, yeah, I can't even remember where I bought that. I think I bought that. It was only $9. I think I bought it from a sewing shop. I've got all these. I've got a pair of my knitted socks there for when my feet get cold. I think I've shown these before, but these are just a pair of socks I made years ago. I love wool socks. There's something about wearing homemade knitted socks. So I do want to get back into it because I haven't done any for ages. There is just something about they do feel nice on your feet. What else have I got here? I've got some skeins of wool that these are sitting here ready to do swatches. Oh, I've actually done the swatches. Look, I'm ahead of myself. So these are some projects I'm going to do in the future, and I've done some swatches. So I've got a pretty lilac there that I thought I might do a vest, a V-neck sleeveless vest to wear a white shirt under for work. And I've got a really lovely, these are all DKs, so these will be winter knitting. I love that colour. It's almost just a pale duck egg blue, and that's a DK. And I thought I would knit a cardigan, so something, just a nice cardigan out of that. And I've also got a 10-ply, which is a very similar colour to that. Not sure what to knit out of that, but it's a very similar colour and it's a 10-ply. I brought them from, these are Skeins, I think, vintage. Oh, they're Skeins vintage. So I bought them from Skeins. They had a sale on, and I made my oatmeal and my rose hip pink one out of the Skeins vintage, and loved the wool, so they had a sale on. So I bought these just to put aside. So they're sitting there ready for my winter knits. Another basket. This came with some lingerie or something that I brought, or it's a bend-on thing to it's usually for washing your knickers in, but I'm just going to use that as a project bag. So that's what that's sitting there for the next project. What else have we got here? Oh, some straight needles. Every now and then I do some knitting with some straight needles, but not very often now, even when I do work that is sort of straight work. Several skeins of just, I don't know, skeins of, I don't know, they just turn up. God knows where they turn up from. They come from a stash. And that's, apart from another pair of knitting needles and some plastic bags, because I don't get rid of plastic bags. I'm like my mother, I wash them and I use them again and again and again and again. So I know I've got a lot of plastic, but I do like to be sustainable. I don't like using plastic unless I know, and my plastics bags will last me for years. So I've got 2 or 3 there. it's just, they are so handy for me because I can see in what's in them, and I don't have to search for things with my sight. So, and these are really good actually, because as I say, I've got arthritis, and I bought these how long ago? I don't wear them very often because they work so well. So when my hands are very sore, or my wrists, these are my wrist ones. I've also got others that are a little bit more, my thumb is my worst with osteo. So I've got one that comes right up on my thumb. But I put these on and I sleep in them, and they just seem to, I don't know, put everything back in, and I can knit with them on. As I say, these are my wrist ones, but it's my fingers that are an issue now. So I've got another pair up in the bedroom because I sleep with them on. I go to bed with them on, and they just seem to, I don't know what they do, whether they help with the inflammation, settle everything down, put it in position. But yeah, so I have these in my knitting basket for when I want to knit, but my hands are very sore. More of a winter thing. Usually my challenges are more winter with my hands, although I must admit my thumbs, and this really, getting really lumpy now. So I'm getting those lumpy. There's another swatch. Yeah, so that is pretty much what's in my knitting basket, which to Stuart's great delight does create a pair of reading glasses. So my glasses are bifocals, and that's the irony with sight challenges. I go and get glasses, and he says, you would get less eye, because eye strain is a huge problem. I just really struggle with eye strain, and that creates fatigue and headaches, etc. So my little amount of sight I have has to find where the bifocal is to do the close work. So I have, these are reading glasses, so I have to look over them to see out. But if I am doing a lot of flat work, I just forget to put them on. I just jolly will forget, and then I'll start saying, oh, my eyes are tired, I should have my reading glasses on. Because if I'm knitting and I'm just concentrating on my knitting, it does make it easier, because you're not having to look for that little bifocal part of your glasses. You're not searching for that, so you can see, especially if you're going back and forth with rows. So I have found those worthwhile to buy. But I do forget to put them on until it's too late and I'm tired. Of course, looking up and looking down, with those ones I have to look over them, but with these ones I can do both. But these aren't really designed, bifocals really aren't designed to do a lot of this reading work. That's why it's good to have your reading glasses. So that's my knitting area. Heck of a messy. The only other thing I've got is, I told you about Frances, the lovely Frances that I work with. She makes this beautiful balm. It's calendula and kawa, and it's just amazing. It really is. If you've got an ache, especially an arthritic ache, and I get really, and that's from peering down all the time. This is amazing. So I just keep that on my side there so that I can slap it on. Ibuprofen, because I do get eye strain a lot. Headphones, because I like to listen to podcasts. Stuart likes to watch history and war. So yeah, I plug my headphones in, and biros and nail files. Pretty much that's it. Just a tin of rubbish in there. Oh, lots of biros, because I'm always looking for biros. It's typical. Even if you don't have sight problems, you can never find a biro. It's usually with that odd sock that you've lost in Neverland. So that's my knitting basket. Yeah, as I say, I haven't got any FOs. I am desperate to cast things off. Now, I did make 2 orders for wool over for Christmas knits. And I haven't got them, but I mean, I know what it's like. Christmas. Helena from Happy Go Knitting, yeah, it sounds like you got inundated with orders, so I'm not stressing. I'm looking forward to getting your wool. what I'm going to make in our wardrobe toolbox with Libby Johnson, where she's created a pattern, and Helena from Happy Go Knitty has made the wool 4-ply. Looks absolutely stunning, so I'm looking forward to that coming in late January, so that'll be a cast on for then. And I also ordered from Outlaw Yarn, and I don't know what it's going to look like, but this is the first time I've done this, so I was so keen to get it, but unfortunately it hasn't arrived. I also live rurally, so my post is erratic anyway, so it's just part and parcel of Christmas, and that, you know, you take the risk. So in Outlaw Yarn, on their website, they have kits, and some of it you don't actually know what the wool looks like. They have a picture which has what's the word, given them ideas to put this pack together. So the pack that I ordered is a white Christmas tree with pink and pastel coloured baubles all over it. So I'm assuming I'll get sort of pale pastel-y baubles, and I'm hoping that it'll be something that I can fade. I think it is a pack for fading, so they'll be light to dark, because I'd really like to do one of those, a cardigan. I quite like the idea of I think they're called Rebel, one of Libby Johnson's. Her patterns are amazing because they really fit beautifully. So I do use, you know, I know her patterns fit me. So she's got a couple of really nice ones. There's another cardigan, and I can't remember what it's called, but it's got really cool ribbing that comes up. So yeah, I thought inspired, that's the word I'm looking for. It's inspired by. So all you see is a picture. There were 2 pictures of Christmas trees. One was a dark green Christmas tree with darker coloured baubles, and one was a white Christmas tree with pink and pastel baubles. And I didn't know which one to go to, but I like green, but I'm not a green. I don't have a lot of green, so I decided to go for the pastels one. But in hindsight, I should have gone for the green, because all my last lot of knittings have been pastels. So, you know, I should do a strong coloured something. I should have, would have, could have. Yeah, that's putting pressure on yourself, eh? I'm supposed to enjoy it, not be a should have, would have, could have. So I'm waiting for those to come through just for some cast-ons, because I'm itching to cast something on. I want to finish my Gemini, which I'm loving doing, but it is taking a little bit of knitting. And I have explained this before. It's 100% cotton, so it is kind of ropey to knit, and the stitches do catch over each other. So I have to sit here, and I have to do it in good light. I can't, even when I'm just doing stocking stitch, I can't do a TV knit, because you've really got to watch each stitch just in case they get caught over each other. Where is it? It is, and it's unforgiving, so I don't want to mess the stocking stitch up. I don't know if you can see that in the light, but it's, you know, it is unforgiving, so if I make mistakes, it's going to really show. So I am, although saying slowly, I haven't got far to go, and I've only knitted, I started on the 5th of December, so it's 20 days, you know, and I was sort of planning a month for although it's got no sleeves. So yeah, I'll probably do it within the month. Well, the plan is, I don't like going over a month. Yeah, so I'm really looking forward to wearing that. It'll be lovely Christmas colours, and yeah. So if I don't have any FOs next time, what I thought I would do, or even if I do have FOs, I'll show those off as well. So I haven't got any cast-ons, any new cast-ons anyway. Is what I thought I might do, and I don't know whether you'll enjoy it or not, but I'm going to do it anyway, because I think it'll be quite fun. I've got my mother and my mother-in-law's pile of patterns. I've just got this whack of patterns. I thought it'd be fun to go through them and just go through some memories. Like I know that there's a pattern in there that I wore as a child that my mum knitted. Yeah, so what patterns I can, you know, get inspiration from, what patterns can be modernised, and how can we modernise them. So I thought that would be a bit of fun. So next time, I think that's what I'll do, is I'll get this wad of patterns out of my drawer, and we'll go through those just for something a bit different. Yeah, it'll be a bit of fun. So learning journey, what have I learned? I mean, obviously, the tray was probably my biggest learning. Is having my knitting tray has been, yeah, life changing, because I can have my pattern enlarged and able to be zoomed in front of me. I don't lose anything down. I was forever looking down the sides pockets of my armchair. So everything is right there, and if it does slide, it slides off into that ridge, lip around the tray, and I can just feel for it. That's actually been probably one of the best ideas, light bulb ideas that I don't even know. I think I just came up. I just think I just thought one day, because we use those trays very rarely. When the grandies come, they'll have a meal on them or something on the couch, but very rare. So that was probably my main learning. Yeah, mental health. Well, when I finish, I will just reverse this back onto my view. That's my mental health. It's Boxing Day. Everything's over. We're going bush for New Year's. We're going to go up. We've got friends that have got a cabin up on their farm way out in the bush. It's just lovely. We're just going to have a great big bonfire and a small group of friends and just sit around and bring the new year in that way. So that'll be lovely and quiet, and just I just want to sit and knit, have nana naps, and yeah, enjoy my beautiful view. So that's me. Just a reminder that my Instagram is blind_and_knitting, and I would love you to subscribe. I did get a question. I get some lovely comments, so thank you very much for all your comments. But one of the questions from one of my comments was, do I do other crafts? The answer is yes. I have always been lucky enough to be able to lay my hand at most crafts. I worked at Benina Sewing Centre for 8 years when I was young, so I learned a lot of crafts through there. But yes, I can crochet. I like crocheting. I don't like wearing it. I usually do things like lampshades, and I made a little phone pouch the other day for my phone, which I'll show you one day. It's nothing that interesting, but it just keeps my phone safe in my bag. So I do crochet. I have macrameed lots in my younger day, so I've thought about starting it again, but yeah, I've got so many projects around me. The last thing I need, when I do my podcasts, if you have a look at the ones that with my sewing machine behind me, let me see, it will be on my right hand side, or your left hand side looking at me. I have a huge shelf, and it's chock-a-block with I've done artwork. I'll show you some a piece of artwork that I've done. I'm not the most fantastic artist, but I have done a bit of painting. And what's the other sort of painting called? Forgotten what it's called now. So I've got all the stuff for painting. I've made wax, sustainable wax wraps, so I did a bit of that. Sewing, handcrafts. I used to sell crafts at Martinborough Fair. Yeah, crocheting. I've done quite a bit of crocheting, but and sold a lot of it. But it was lots of things like lampshades and things. I used to make some really cool lampshades actually, back in the day. What else have I done? As I say, I did dressmaking. I did some ball gowns, and but my time of my life, bound pockets and bound buttonholes and things. They just no, I just wouldn't do them now. I'll stick to simple. I love all crafts. Any craft will excite me. I'll have a go. Yeah, so I think that a lot of people that knit do a lot of everything. So that's me. I'm starting to repeat myself now, so it's time to sign off. I'll sign off with my view and Kenzie saying goodbye. And Kenzie has had a lovely Christmas. I'm going to go and give her bone that we had in the freezer. Now that Stuart's mowed the lawns, she can sit out there and chomp on her bone outside and enjoy that. That can be her Christmas time. And yeah, I'll see you next podcast. Take care, guys, and look after yourself.